find Sarah Boone not guilty? Because she was justified.
Justified.
To defend herself. That force was reasonable under the circumstances that existed between Sarah Boone
Thank you.
and George Torres. Sarah Boone and George Torres were down and out, as you can be. Their life centered around alcohol. Both of them suffered from, used to be called alcoholism, now it's called alcohol abuse syndrome. And so day to day, they struggle with the use of alcohol. You can imagine that. It affected their jobs. It affected keeping employment. It affected even getting a job. As codependent as you can be towards each other. And you're going to learn with all that was domestic violence. And that George Torres physically abused Sarah Boone. And she suffered from the effects, the psychological effects that one suffers from repeat violence from an intimate partner. They were together over 3 years, and there were several prior incidences of violence. We've got the photographs. There were incidences where police were called who took photographs. So you're going to be able to see the evidence. And we believe the court will instruct you at the end when you're considering self-defense, which we call justifiable use of non-deadly force or justifiable use of deadly force, that you can consider the prior acts, the history of violence, the prior difficulties that the parties had. And considering her set of circumstances that she was faced with in making the decision to use reasonable force under the circumstances. And the most important thing I can tell you here today is keep an open mind. There's two sides to every story. You're going to hear the state's side, them attempting to paint her a certain way, as they've done here today in opening statement. And then you're going to hear another side. And you're going to have to weigh that. All the evidence, the credibility of the witnesses, the photographs, the videotapes, and come to a conclusion. Now let's talk about this day, February 23rd of 2020, the date of this event. This case has been pending for some time. Here we are, October of 2024. I think the evidence is going to show that they had purchased some wine the day before, but they hadn't finished all of that. So it was in the refrigerator. Many times that's how they start their day. At some point, you're going to see a video from Publix, from where they live. I believe it's Winter Park. But Publix was not too far from their apartment complex. And they took their car, they drove over there. So you're going to see a videotape from Publix of them both going in the store about noon, and they come out with one of those larger bottles of the wine, and then of course there's a receipt, and the bottles are in the garbage can. Of course, there obviously is an attraction between the two. And as everybody knows, couples can have great times where things click, everybody gets along, and then we can have episodes of disagreement. And how are those resolved? Really, is what this is about. How are disagreements resolved? But George was very jealous of Sarah. And you're going to hear the testimony about that. And that he cannot, in certain situations, he can be very charming. But when his level of intoxication gets to a certain level, is when he gets sad, moody, and a lot of times eventually it involved forcible sex with Sarah Boone or actual physical violence against her. They bought the wine. It's a simple life. They don't have much money, but they both like art. They did that for a while. They both like puzzles. They did that for a while. Well, about 5 or so, the wine bottle was gone. And George had said, I want to go get some cigarettes. So there's a convenience store right close by their apartment complex. And Sarah thought he was just going to walk over there and get cigarettes and come back. But no, what he did was he got her keys, he got her debit card, and he went over to the Publix and he got another bottle. I think that was about 5:30, something like that. And again, there'll be the Publix video showing him going in, going out, and there'll be a receipt for the purchase of that bottle, and then they'll keep that bottle. Will be in the garbage can along with the other bottle. Well, when he comes in with the second bottle, Sarah knows. This is not good. She knows this means he's going to get to another level of intoxication. So Sarah's concerned. So she attempts to placate him, keep him busy, keep him in a good mood. They drink that bottle. Well, she drinks as well. And at some point, they're intoxicated at a high level. As some people do when they're drunk, they get silly. And they decide to play a game of hide and seek. She goes upstairs, their bedroom's upstairs, to the shower and waits for a period of time. And he doesn't come to her. At some point, she gets cold, she gets tired. She wants to go see, well, maybe we got it mixed up. Where is he? So she goes downstairs, and they had gotten a suitcase down a week or so ago. It's an old suitcase that they were going to donate to Helping Hands or Goodwill or somebody, and they were putting some items in there. And it's a broken down suitcase. It's a large suitcase. They both weigh about 100 pounds. And they don't eat good. Malnourished to a large degree. But the pull handle is broken off. And they've attached a little paper clip that's got the rubber around it. And that's how they move it back and forth. Well, she comes down the steps. She sees him getting in and settling in the suitcase. So she walks over there, and they see each other. They smile and laugh, and she zips him up. And she zips him up, and they laugh for a while. And they carry on. She sits on the couch. And at some point, he says, I can't breathe. Now, his face is facing the zipper, and she's got 2 or 3 inches that she's opened it. And she doesn't know. They're intoxicated. She doesn't know whether he's just saying that to try to get her to get him out or what. But he's a captive audience. Physically, they're the same size, but he's much stronger than her. If they got in a fist fight, he would win 100 times out of 100. But she's got him now. He claims he can't get up. He has to sit and listen. It's a unique form of physical restraint.
Yep. Pretty
So
much.
she lets him have it. Says things she shouldn't say.
I've just been looking up those definitions and criteria for this defense, and I'll show you them during the break, but you're not going to like them.
You'll see the video. It's about 2 minutes long. She videotapes it. She sits on the couch, turns her phone on, and videotapes it for about 2 minutes. There's another video that's approximately 11 minutes later. The first video, George's, the suitcase is flipped upside down. The zippers are off. 11 minutes later, Sarah has flipped it right side up. Again, open for him to get out. And it's only 22 seconds. And you hear George say, Sarah. And that's it. Now, the key to the case is that 11 minutes.
What did he say to her in that time?
And what happened during that 11 minutes.
Yep.
Okay.
And she will testify to that.
Sarah Boone will take the stand.
Mm-hmm.
She will explain what happened. She will explain why it happened. The evidence will show that she was justified in the action she took to prevent an attack from George Torres.
Told you. Fucking hell.
Acknowledges that
exactly. You can.
Has a right.
Can you not see what I was explaining? Fuck me. If they can prove prosecutorial misconduct, and link it back to the home, and that she was she didn't have a duty to retreat, and she was in fear of imminent danger and threat in her own home where she's supposed to be. Apparently, her actions are justifiable, and the state has no other option but to drop charges. They cannot prosecute. I shit you not.
You can hear from the medical examiner. She is going to tell you about some bruising.
I think that's what's happened. She's agreed. She's admitted that she took to him with the bat. And in her head, she's like, oh, crap. I've gone too far now. I'm going to cop it. It all snowballs.
On George Torres. Of course, he was in the suitcase a while. Deceased, we believe. And that changes things a little bit, as the medical examiner will explain. But there's some bruising. Sarah's going to explain that to you. Why that happened. What were the circumstances surrounding that? Involving a bat.
You know what? I reckon I'll take the 95% that she will get a lesser included of manslaughter at the most. At the most. Because they only have to prove, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. They just have to put doubt. That's it. Not if you encompass the entire umbrella of this syndrome, and you add in the fact that it was done at home, and that there was a trigger or an act or something that was said or done for her to perceive that she was in imminent danger. That's all they have to do. That's it. I shit you not. I've got it all. I've saved them all. We'll go through it in the break with all the definitions and we'll break it down. But if you read the definition of the prosecutorial misconduct law in Florida pertaining to duty to retreat and, justifiable defense, there's a chance. There's a
The
chance.
son comes and stays with them from time to time. He has his own room. He has several of his things there. And there's a bat downstairs. The same bat that George
I don't want to be right,
Perez
trust me.
used, and there's a video. And George is threatening Sarah. And he's swinging the bat at the TV about as hard as he can. And he does it about 6 or 7 times. You'll see it. Sarah's recording it. And it's during an argument. And he's trying to
They
intimidate.
they still have to base it upon the law, though. They've got to believe beyond a reasonable doubt that she met the criteria of second degree by proving intent, proving that she had a depraved mind, and that she acted with willful disregard to human life. That's what they have to prove to get to second degree.
Sarah loved you. You're going to hear why women don't leave. Why women don't leave. And you're going to hear about Sarah Boone and her struggles,
That's right.
her mental health struggles.
Yep. And no one can argue with her because there was no one else there.
Sarah had no intent to kill. The prosecutor mentioned she wanted him to die.
Yeah, a text
Farthest from
message.
the truth. She loved
No,
him.
that's not strong enough for intent.
She hated the abuse. She couldn't leave him. She tried. She tried kicking him out 6 or 7 times. He kept coming back. She changed the locks. He kept coming back. She didn't have the family. She didn't have the support. She was weak, vulnerable. You're going to hear it all. You've got to take that all into account to try to understand what happened.
Excuse me. All right. The definition under Florida statute for second degree murder. The prosecutor must show that the defendant has a depraved mind and a willful disregard for human life, that it involves intent to harm or kill, but is not premeditated. That's the definition of second degree in the Florida statute. First degree, you have to prove that it was a conscious decision, that it was planned or premeditated on top of that. But, yeah. That's what it... I've got the law up there. Oh, I've got it saved. We'll go through it later. But that's apparently what it comes down to. Yes, it was a stupid thing to do. Yes, it was an act that a reasonable person could see would lead to unaliving. But she was off her face. She wasn't reasonable. That's going to go towards her ability to make conscious, informed decisions. Like a conscious state is altered. It's whilst, you know, what is it? Voluntary intoxication isn't a defense in itself. It can be brought in under this umbrella. Yes, that intent to harm is what will be her doubt. Yes, that's right. That's right. And if he can prove, or at least poke enough holes in the state's case to show that it was possibly justifiable and that she could possibly have perceived it to be the situation that she thought it would be that causes her harm, I can't see how they can get past voluntary manslaughter. I honestly can't.
And the circumstances surrounding this tumultuous relationship.
Have a listen to her voice in the tape though when they play it.
Now, you're gonna find that Sarah's not perfect. And, you know, she goes, as many of us do when we drink too much, you sleep in. She slept in.
She's got a history
11,
of passing
12,
out.
1, somewhere around there. She moseys downstairs looking for George.
Mosey. Mosey on
He was
down.
on the computer looking for a job. She looked outside. Maybe he's out smoking a cigarette. And she sees
Nope.
a suitcase.
Ow.
She unzips it. She gets him out. He's purple. She tries her best to do some CPR. She freaks out. The only family she's got is her ex-husband. Really. She relies on him. As the prosecutor said, a lot of times she'll flee to her ex-husband's house. And her son is at? Lucas.
It's a K. Lucas with a
The
K.
only thing she knows to do. She was kind of a sheltered daughter when she was younger. She's smart, but she's not worldly.
Really?
She
She's got a
calls-
kid show?
Brian, what do I do? He said, I'm coming over. Please come over. He's about 5 minutes away. And she calls him again within a couple of minutes. Yeah, I'm on the way. He gets there. He walks in the foyer and sees his legs. He said, call 911. She calls 911 within a minute, 2. Detective Rodriguez arrives. You know, they got the body cam now, so it's recorded. So you're going to hear Sarah talking. But Sarah's freaking out. Sarah's thinking, and I'm somehow responsible. Eventually, she gives a statement to law enforcement. She gives one to Detective or Deputy Rodriguez. Of course, she's not the homicide investigator. She just responded. She's the first responder. And, you know, they know what to do. They try to assess the situation. They start putting the tape out. And then they call for the homicide investigator.
I think that's who that
Which takes a little
husband
time.
spoke to as well.
So she gets a statement from Sarah. Eventually, the homicide detectives get a statement from Sarah and one of the unmarked squad cars. And it's recorded. Right here, that. And then the next day,
Somehow I might be
they
responsible.
take Sarah's phone. Sarah gives them the phone, signs the consent. takes
Wasn't
the
me.
phone, take it to
I didn't
they
put
have
him in
a
the
phone
suitcase.
extraction
Wasn't me.
people at the sheriff's department where they can take it and
Sorry.
take out all the data, all your phone calls, text messages, photographs, videos, all that. And they find these 2 videos. Sarah's not aware. She doesn't remember making the video.
If she did, she wouldn't have handed her phone over.
She gives them the phone. Well, she makes no attempts to do anything other than, here's the phone. So they tell her, you're going to get your phone back tomorrow. We'll bring it back to you tomorrow. Well, they end up having a conversation with the female detective, homicide detective, Hobson is her name, Chelsea Hobson. And they end up, Deputy Cops was.
What I can't believe is that he has established this defense and this intricate defense in 45 days. If he goes where I think he could go, this man is brilliant. Brilliant.
Right. Or Detective Cops was right. They said, end up, hey, we're not going to bring your phone. I'm not feeling good. Pregnant. Can you come to the sheriff's department? Which Sarah Boone was to tell you that was what I was going. That's what they told me I was going to the sheriff's department for. Well, instead it was an interrogation.
Mm-hmm. That don't have to do with the truth.
They made their mind up on it, and they were going to confront her and try to get her to confess based on the two videotapes. And so there's approximately a 2-hour interrogation that was on the 25th in the afternoon. When she got there to get her phone, they said, well, we got to come up here. We need to talk. And they got her in the room. It's a small room, but it's being videotaped and audio taped. And it goes on for about 2 hours of them trying to get a confession to murder. But it doesn't happen. But Sarah lies. She's scared. She can tell they're trying to pin her on this, that this was some kind of intentional act.
So call a lawyer.
And it was not. So she lies. She's not a lawyer. She doesn't know about self-defense. She doesn't understand she has a lawful right to defend herself. She doesn't understand that she's justified in using the force that she used. She doesn't. I wasn't there to advise her. No lawyer was there. So she lied. And you're going to hear that. So you're going to have to balance that versus her taking the stand and testifying before you. And we simply ask that you look for the evidence of cooperation of her testimony. It's going to be later, probably next week. The judges will tell you in reading instruction on evaluating a witness's credibility. And they'll talk about cooperative evidence, other evidence that's consistent with the testimony that Sarah Boone will give you. So you're going to have to weigh that in her testimony. Now, self-defense, we talked about it in jury selection, usually a gun, some deadly weapon. The suitcase in this case was a physical restraint or a blocking of an attack, but it was unconventional. Self-defense, nonetheless.
That's only one element of this battered wife syndrome.
Now, as I said,
only one component.
Struggles that occurred, many of them involved the police. So you're going to actually hear from some of the police officers. Maybe some body cam footage. You're going to see some photographs that they took of the injuries to Sarah Boone. And some of the videos you may see of her in a very happy, joyful type of thing. Well, number one, she's intoxicated. Number two, she's safe. Police are there. So her attitude is not one of distress.
Mm-hmm. Why was she intoxicated? I wonder if he'll get to that. Why was she abusing alcohol?
We're here today, full packed courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Grant's here, but you're the most important people because you've got to decide this case honestly, fairly,
and according to the law.
And we talked about the two biggest principles from the Constitution that apply. In this
Innocent
case,
until proven guilty.
and in every case in which a citizen like Sarah Boone is brought into a courtroom and accused of a crime. The first is, you as a juror must presume or believe that Sarah is
Would you believe that only one channel is streaming it? Only one.
innocent. And that belief stays with you throughout the entire trial.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, she doesn't have to prove anything.
Nope, the burden
That's
is
why the
on
state went first
state.
in jury selection. That's why the state went first today. That's why the state will go first putting on their case. They have the burden of proof, and it's the highest burden we recognize in any type of litigation
Yep.
in this country. Proof beyond and to the exclusion of every
Every
reasonable
reasonable
doubt.
doubt.
You are going to have doubts about this case. But the most important thing is not to rush to judge it, to keep an open mind and understand there's two sides to this case.
No, there's three sides to
There's
every
their
story.
side,
His, hers, and the truth.
so you can't form any fixed opinions early on. That's hard to do, as Mr. Henderson said in opening or in jury selection. That's extremely hard to do. Now you're going to hear some testimony. There's been mention of experts. Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger.
And that perception was altered.
Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger. Victims of repeat violence may fear death in a situation others would not.
Mhm.
After hearing both sides of this case, we're confident you're going to have a reasonable doubt. And we're going to ask you to follow the law and do justice in this case. And find Sarah Boone not guilty, because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can the parties approach for a moment?
Fuck me. Fuck me. What is it? Please explain. Don't like it. Don't like it. All right, whilst they're on that, let me see if I can. The more I read, the more I cringed. All right, battered woman syndrome, the key elements of a diagnosis and treatment plan. Women who are victims of intimate partner violence have been identified by the mental health field for more than 30 years. It's understood that domestic violence is part of gender violence and that many more women than men are the victims of physical, sexual, and psychological abuse. Even when women strike back or engage in mutual violence, it is usually the woman who is most likely to be hurt both physically and emotionally. Women who strike back in self-defense are often arrested along with the batterer. Well, we have proof of that. She has been charged with battery of strangulation in 2019. It's further understood that gender violence is fostered by the socialization of men to be more powerful than women. In some men, this process creates the need to abuse power and to control women. While the term victim is not always considered politically correct, in fact, until battered women take back some control over their lives, they may not truly.
State, you may call your first witness.
State will call Juan Torres.
I'll keep going next. That's great. First responder, police, law enforcement, you reckon? 911 operator. Who you reckon it'll be?
please do you swear or affirm the testimony you should give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Sir, good morning. You could be seated. And once seated,
Yes,
if you
Morty,
could
you could
state
be
and spell
seated.
your name for the record for us, please.
Juan Torres,
The brother.
Juantorres.
Thank you, sir. You may inquire, Mr. Cacciatore.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you tell us how it is that you know George Torres?
He's my older brother.
And how many siblings do you have?
Six or seven.
Jesus, didn't you have a
And
television?
how long has your family resided here in the Central Florida area?
Mm,
20 plus years.
they must be
And
near you.
before residing,
Are they near you, Edith? Is Orange County near you? Hmm? We need someone in that courtroom. We need a man on the ground. Man on the ground.
in the Central Florida area, were you guys in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir. And Massachusetts.
Your brother, how often, your brother George, that is,